Good evening. I'd like to call to order the Sparks Planning Commission meeting for Thursday, October 15th at 6 o'clock. Here.
Commissioner Camerota?
Here.
Commissioner Lee?
Here.
Commissioner Elicki?
Here.
Commissioner Peterson?
Here.
Commissioner Bowles?
Here.
Commissioner Berber?
Here.
Assistant City Attorney Doug Thornley?
Here.
City Planner Armando Ornelas?
Here.
All right, so now move to public comment. This item is for either public comment on any action item or for general public comment and is limited to no more than 3 minutes for each commentator. Anyone from the public that would like to speak? Okay, seeing none, I'll close the public comment. And now I'll move to the approval of the agenda.
Move to approve as submitted.
Second. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Approval of the agenda passes. Now we'll move to approval of the minutes.
Move to approve as submitted.
Second.
Okay, a motion and a second to approve the minutes as submitted. Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right. Approval of the minutes passes. Now we'll move to announcements and committee reports.
The only announcement I have, Mr. Chairman, is that we will be meeting in November on the 5th. So that first Thursday in November, we do plan to have a meeting.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we'll move on to any informational items.
Well, it was well publicized, so you probably are aware of this, but this past Monday, the Sparks City Council did approve the amendment to the zoning code that allows for urban agriculture, including the keeping of chickens and apiaries. It is, by and large, not applicable in the planned developments, so it would be in those areas where Title 20 applies. And then with regard to the feral cat amendment that had been proposed, that was not approved by the City Council, so that is not effective.
Okay. Thank you, Armando. So now we'll move to the public hearing items. First on the agenda is PCN 15036, consideration of and possible action on a request to annex a site approximately 5 acres in size to the city of Sparks. Ian presenting.
Commissioners, Ian Crittenden, Senior Planner for the record. This is an annexation request from Red Hawk Land Company to annex 5-acre site that's comprised of two 2.5-acre parcels. So these are the two parcels in that are requesting to be annexed. As you can see, this is these properties are directly east and adjacent to Golden Eagle Recreational or Regional Park. Upon annexation, these parcels would transition from county A5 to city A5, so there wouldn't be a big change there. The current land use, or from the master plan land use designation, is general commercial. That's a remnant of a project that never made it past that point. And the existing use of the property is an unoccupied single-family residence. The site is in the NSSOI, the North Sparks Sphere of Influence. And as such, we've had planning jurisdiction over this property since roughly 1991. The property did have the master plan land use amended in 2009 from 2 dwelling units per acre to general commercial. Again, that was for the project that never was completed. The properties, the site is in a county peninsula, which is a term I don't know if we just coined, because it's not an island. It hasn't been annexed into an island, but it is in a peninsula, and it carries some of the same concerns that come from county islands, namely, emergency service, confusion of jurisdiction. Not sure if the person calling is from within or without our jurisdiction, so that can make some problems there. The site is not in our. I can bring that up as well. It's not in our 7-year annexation plan. Kind of hard to see. This is not the greatest quality image here. I'll try to, zooming in, it's not going to do this a lot of good. It's right here. You kind of see there's the darker, kind of almost salmon peaky color, and then there's the lighter tan color. That's our sphere of influence, but not our city limits. And the blue are the areas that we identified as areas we wanted to try to annex within this 7-year period. Now, it doesn't fall within that annexation area, but the NSSOI Goal 33 says that we want to, I have it written down here. Oh, now I've lost it. It basically says we want to encourage and support annexation of anything in our sphere of influence. So because of that, we use the same criteria or the same rationale that's asked for in that 7-year annexation plan to kind of evaluate this property. Some of the criteria that we look at or factors that we consider are whether or not it's a logical extension of our city boundary. This feels like it is. It also, the city is the most logical place for them to go to get services, both water, sewer. Both of those are not really available there, but at some point during development, if that becomes necessary, we're the logical place, so it makes sense for us them to be in the city limits. There was a fiscal analysis submitted, which did show a net benefit to the city over the next 10 years. The annexation request conforms with NRS 268, and the site is contiguous to the existing city limits. The annexation conforms to the findings for annexation pursuant to Sparks Municipal Code. It's within the TMSA, the Truckee Meadows Service Area. Water and sewer capacity has been considered. As we looked at our sphere of influence, so those kind of things have been thought about for this property, and it will help. Annexation of this site will help shrink the county island, or not island, but peninsula. Yeah, it will help shrink that area. So the existing master plan land use, like I said, is general commercial, is GC. Any change so when it comes in, it's going to translate to A5 zoning, which will be the governing regulation for that property. Any change to the zoning will have to conform with that land use designation, or the land use designation will also have to be changed. So we're essentially stuck with A5 until something else is brought forward, and then it'll have to come into conformance. We have but we have some properties around town. That's typically how we deal with those. The last part is we did notify, I'll bring up the other drawing I've got that shows a little better. We did notice 1,800 feet from these properties. State law requires at least 300, but you got to get those 30 people, or 750, and you got to get those 30 people. And so we did go clear up into the bottom of the foothills is where we had to go to get that many people. So most of the areas around it is BLM. So that's what happened there. And then this meeting, in conjunction with City Council, will constitute the public hearings for this item. That's the end of my presentation. If you have any questions, I'm available.
Any questions for Ian? Okay, is the applicant here, and would they like to speak?
Good evening. For the record, Mike Fraley with Rubicon Design Group here on behalf of Greg Buckman. I think Ian did a great job summarizing. This property is under common ownership with the large 60-acre parcel to the north, so it makes sense to have them both in the same jurisdiction. So that's why we're here tonight. So we're happy to answer any questions you might have.
Mr. Chairman, I have a couple questions for Mike. First of all, Mike, I know if the Red Hawk Land Company is going to be doing this project out there, it's going to be first class, so I don't have a problem with that at all. Another thing is that if this is passed, it's going to be a net revenue to the city of Sparks.
Correct.
Which is good. But I need to ask you on the annexation required by NRS 268-625, number D, it says the location of the existing and planned water and sewer service. It said municipal services are within proximity to the site, and any intensification at that site will require utilizing water and sewer services, which will be extended at the owner's expense.
Correct.
That will be at the owner's, not the city?
That is correct.
Okay.
What we envision is a master plan for
Okay,
the entire parcel.
that's what I figured, yeah. How far away is the water and sewer from?
We're actually in the process of looking at that right now, whether it comes through the park or where it comes in from Foothill. So it's definitely available in the area of the project.
Okay, I appreciate that, Mike. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thanks, Tom. Any more questions? Okay. Well, thank you. This is a public hearing item, so if anybody from the public that would like to come and speak on this. Okay. Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. We'll move it back to the commission for any discussion. Okay.
Can I make a motion, Mr.
I'll
Chairman?
entertain one.
I move to forward a recommendation of approval to the City Council of the annexation requested associated with PCN 15036 to annex approximately 5 acres into the City of Sparks, Nevada, based on the findings A1 through A4 and the facts supporting these findings as set forth in the staff report.
I'll second.
Okay, a motion and a second. Any discussion? Okay. Call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, motion passes. Thank you. Okay, now we'll move on to general business. This is a briefing on the City of Sparks Comprehensive Plan update. And I see Karen Melby coming down. So.
Good evening, Planning Commission. I'm Karen Melby, Senior Planner. I'm just going to do a brief introduction. As I had mentioned when we did a update, I think it was last month, in our presentation, one of the things that we were working on was hiring a consultant to help us with the public outreach component of our comprehensive plan update. And what I wanted to do tonight was introduce you to the firm that we've hired and their sub-consultant. It's RAD Strategies is who we've hired, and it's Ronald Dotson and Karen Craig. And so I'd like to have them come up, and they're going to do a presentation to you and a demonstration real quick.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm Ronald Dotson with RAD Strategies.
And I'm Karen Craig with Creative Cities. And while Renell's getting us started, does everybody have a phone with them tonight? And if you do, could you put it out on the desk? Because we're going to do something fun and interactive later if you do. And we'll get it ready while Renell's setting up.
Okay. Do we have that on the screen?
I got one.
I left mine in my truck. I usually follow after Art Sperber, but a lot of times I left it on and it goes on, so I learned to leave it in my truck.
Then I'll come stand by you and we'll vote together.
Okay.
I love it. I left mine in my truck also.
Okay.
Well, thank you for the time this evening. We are very, very excited about this program, and to say we hit the ground running is kind of an understatement. So we're going to go through some of the points, and Karen's going to start this off as we move through our overview of the comprehensive planning public outreach portion.
So one of the things we know is that this plan is your plan as the Planning Commission. This is where you are proposing we see Sparks go over the next 10, 20, 30 years. But you're about to hit a milestone, which is what does it look like as we go over 100,000 people? And our job is to think about what's ahead, talk to people, listen to people, and also be prepared for what some people in the region say is a lot of growth coming, especially to residential Sparks, as you can see, being projected and has been talked about, and also to industrial Sparks. So let us talk a little bit about the phases and timeline of how we're going to go about this. Number one, we want to make sure that we have a very clear vision to operate within. Part of understanding that vision is what everybody feels are the greatest assets of Sparks or our strengths, and also what are the challenges that we might be facing. But really, what we want to get at the heart of is what's the desired improvement? What does Sparks want to be? And we want to be able to articulate that during phase one. Phase one's taking place about October through December, and basically we're going to be testing visions, listening for strengths, listening for desired improvements. We're listening for themes that emerge, and then we want to determine deep dive questions that we'll take up in phase two. Phase two will start in January, run for about 3-4 months, and in the deep dive we're going to be doing surveys, evaluations, data collection, summarization, But I think the piece that you want to see is how many people we hope to engage. And we wrote this humorously, but we mean it seriously. We want to talk to Sparks internal staff and the public, the Planning Commission and the public, connectors and the public, on and on, as you can see across this graphic, that we know that they're stakeholders. We know that there's lots of people that have voices and opinions. But we also, as you can see at the bubble on the right, the process has to be open to all. We want to have active engagement. We want the process to be transparent. We want it to be enthusiastic and fun, thus your phones. And we want to be sure that we engage people who are often underrepresented in a process like this. So we have inventive methods. We'll talk to you a little bit about that as the slides go on with Renell's expertise. But by summer, we hope to have enough direction that staff can pick up and really start articulating the comprehensive draft plan. We'll work with staff and then go back to the public and help test that presumption, listen again, update again, and by fall of 2016, the plan should be finished, ready to come back to governing bodies. And then Renell and I will go back with your approval and put it in a format to go back to the community who's participated in the process all the way along and let them know they've been heard, this is where it's going, and make sure that we bring the wagon full circle.
So some of the inventive methods, and we'll go through these a little bit further, is we're going to unite this with one hashtag as a campaign, because that elicits a lot of feedback. We're looking at Ignite Sparks because of obviously the play on Sparks, play on where we are, play on current environments. Audience listing tools will engage social media. We're going to go beyond traditional meetings, and we have some ideas and things we'll share there. Hands-on, face-to-face activities is really what we're looking at to really engage with the public. Boots on the ground, as Karen has coined this, is what we're going to be doing. Consistent media outreach, working closely with Adam Mayberry in that respect, and he's already been very active involved in that and reaching out to some of his contacts with what we can engage. And then the engagement, monitoring, and solicitation. So Ignite Sparks and IgniteSparksNV.com, it's a website which we'll have live by November 15th. And that'll be built on as we continue to move through the campaign. But the website's going to have the framework of this whole program, meaning surveys on there, dates, locations, background information, and the social media integration. We're going to integrate what we call gamification, and that's also a word that Karen has brought to the team. And what it is we want to engage with users online in a different way, an educational tool, but also use it as a way to garner their opinions. So this is a sample. This was taken from one, and it's not interactive, but I'm just kind of sharing it with you. You can see it's very visual, it's big numbers, and it's big percentages, but when you click on any of these components, it goes to different windows, and it gives you more information. So as we move through this process, we're looking at integrating something like this for the website that allows the residents to get in there and really engage with us on a much different level than they would normally through just a typical survey. We really want to grab their attention and keep them involved in the process.
Boots on the ground. I think I've grown up coming to meetings like this where I sat in a hall and we had a function and a presenter and a workshop. Although I think times are changing. And how we're going to engage people is really get out into the different communities, or what we're calling boots on the ground. So number one, we're going to start getting out and taking surveys and talking to people in heavy traffic areas. We'll go to people where they have their quality of life. Talk and interview with people in parks, in community centers, during football games or baseball games. To get into some of the industrial neighborhoods and maybe some of the Latino primarily neighborhoods, food trucks during lunch, where we'll show up, we'll sponsor a food truck and be able to take some interviews and have conversations there. We'll be present at the El Rancho Drive-In with a booth and conversations and surveys taken there. And again, back into the industrial areas in focusing on what some of the pressures might be coming in from some of the related developments from TRIC. What are we anticipating here? How are we moving people? How are our employees? How are they getting to and from work? Really get to the places of work during the hours of work and see what we can learn by talking to people face to face. As I mentioned, we really want to get into where people have the time on their time in their places of communications. So, for example, we want to be at faith-based communities. But we don't know when we need to learn by asking. Is that in the evening? Is that on the weekends? So we're going to get to the connectors who know the rhythm of that particular community, whether it's senior center, whether it's faith-based, whether it's a community park. So we're really going to take the effort to find out when people have the time and attention to talk to us about what they see and what they feel and what they want. We're also going to do it with bus tours, and we hope to take all of you on a bus tour along with business leaders, seniors, special group, youth. Let's get out in the community and look at it instead of trying to figure it out from maps in a room. Let's go talk to some fourth graders and give them cameras, and disposable cameras, and work with their teachers and have them talk about what's the Sparks they want to grow up and live in. We're going to have event interactions. The first one that'll be on deck is at the Sparks Parade at Hometown Christmas. We'll probably have coffee and hot chocolate set up, and the wrappers around the cup. We'll be soliciting people to come take surveys with us or tell them how to take the surveys at home. Again, back into senior centers, aquatics, senior living communities, and then using this idea of connectors to really get into the rhythm of a community, not assume that we know everybody. Let's ask them how they'd like to interact.
So social media will play a part in it. What we did is just for sake of just showing the design, we would be working with the current Sparks social media outlets because there's already a huge presence on there. So to engage with those is exactly where we want to be. And our firm already works closely with Adam Mayberry in his office on the brand leadership initiative. So this is fairly easy for us to integrate into. So this is just showing a cover photo. We'll have different pages within there and we'll be able to engage with users there. Well, going to ask for photos. Through that hashtag, we're going to ask people to send us photos of things, the opportunities or the challenges or things that they see in their community that they want us to pay attention to. And so that's a component, and that's where social media can really play differently in this in the public outreach. This is the third round of this infographic that we're also working with Adam on, and it's not yet for publication, but there was the decision through the brand leadership and also pioneered and through Adam to say we need our own infographic about Sparks and what makes us different. There's been a lot in the community, and we just haven't had a place in those. So this is ours, and we're going to use this on the website. We're going to try to make this interactive as we can to show people some of the things that we like and some of the stats and where we are. This is also helping us just really educate people on some things they might not know about our community. Mobile is also a big one. Obviously, Sparks has a new mobile app that we helped take to this level and bring to fruition. So we're going to integrate into there some survey questions and some opportunities to engage with some people while they're on there. And one of the things that we're going to do, and this is just one example, we're going to look at instant polling. Because there's, that's what Karen asked if you had your phones, because there's opportunities to use instant polling to get immediate feedback on those bus tours. We want to hear right away. We're going to have questions and we're going to have opportunities for people to be engaged with us right on the spot. And in fact, we're going to kind of show you one right now if you're willing to play along with us. So this is, it's not customized yet to Sparks, but it will be. So right now it's my name. So if anyone does have a phone, they can just text to my name, Ronelle Dotson 261. So it's RONELE DOTSON.
Yep.
So you put in the phone number 22 and then 3 threes. Just type that in into like you were sending a text message to the phone number, and then in the actual text message you type my name and then 261. And hit enter or send like you would a text. And what you'll do is you'll receive a response to that. I'll give you just a minute to do that.
So it shows me that I've joined. And then I'm ready to produce. A, are you the Sparks Planning Commissioner?
Yes.
A, hit send.
What?
It's okay.
AA.
Good, and then send.
2 2s and 3 3s, yep. And then my name. 261.
Is this the fun part, to be embarrassed that you have no idea what you're doing here?
No, it's okay.
Because that's not the fun part, I take it, right?
Did it say you joined?
You're loading. What did you pull everywhere? Yes.
Yep, that's it. So then you just would answer the question, you just type in an A or B on your phone.
I don't text. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Well,
But I do talk on
We
the
do
phone.
have this online. For people that don't test, this can also be done on a
If you were to
website.
go online, we would ask you, are you a Sparks commissioner?
Okay.
And you would say yes.
Oh, I understand that,
You're
but I didn't understand. Someone's calling me right now, as a matter of fact.
So you can see at the bottom of the screen, it says total results so far
I need to
one.
make you turn your phone on. Okay, Armando, are you a Sparks planning commissioner? I didn't think so, so you're a B.
I think it'll only take one of it. Oh, no, it did two. So then what people will see is they'll just see this on the screen, even at home, because there's a URL that they can use and get on their website or on their phone. And then what we do is we reveal the results. And so out of the two people that responded, there's one that's a commissioner and one that's not.
Well,
So-
we got one answer, didn't we?
Exactly. So it's just to show how quickly this will happen and using technology. Now, it won't work in all circumstances, and we wouldn't use it with all audiences, but there will be opportunities where we're going to want to reach those people that are technologically have these capabilities, especially for our, if we're a high-tech community, which is what we're slowly transitioning into, that this will be important. But there's the old school way. We'll have sticky notes at some places. We're going to have paper surveys. We're going to cover the gamut so we can try to engage with as many people where they are.
Mine says, what's my favorite animal?
That's what I should have done.
A feral cat.
Now that it's legal, you can do it.
So that's the campaign in a nutshell.
I need to ask you one question. You're talking about the bus rides, bringing, the city council and commissioners and, different people in the public in that. Where exactly would the ride be? I mean, is it, you go to the blighted areas, or do you go to downtown, or is there a
Yes.
pattern that,
All the above.
all the above?
Yes.
Okay.
We'll have,
From city limits to city limits.
exactly. What we'll do is we'll use, through Google Maps, be able to provide the mapping that people will be able to see, so that they'll be able to see what route they're going on and be able to know that in advance, so that they know what the time commitment is and where we're going to go.
Okay.
And that'll be part of the
I
program.
remember we did that once, Karen. God, I want to say, 7, 8 years ago.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah,
Just went out and looked at different places in the city.
yeah.
But then it says, what's my favorite animal?
Just curious, how big is your staff, your firm? It's kind of an aggressive schedule, more than,
Yeah.
you use
I
consultants?
think there's 5 of us total, when you count everybody up. And we'll all be all hands where we need to be, for sure.
I have a question. I don't know how to phrase this without sounding sort of racist, maybe is not the right word, but
Hopefully not.
My experience has been dealing with people and getting information from people, is that folks that are well enough off that their basic needs are taken care of, then they start looking for other activities that interest them and fulfill them. And, this is one of those activities, but there's lots of other things that it could be. But there's a hell of a lot of people that are at that level that their concerns are really, very close in, and they don't care a lot or think a lot about the kinds of things you're talking about. They care about, is their paycheck going to get through this week or not? Or, can they pay the rent or whatever? And that's good to be communicating with him, but it's also, seems to me, almost an entirely new exercise to start getting any opinions beyond what their day-to-day concerns are, if you understand what I'm saying.
I do. And in the process I've done before, it's addressed this carefully. But let me give you an example of what you might be saying, because I'm more of the planner communicator. I've been doing this for about 30 years, and one of the stats I came across yesterday in looking at the census, kind of deep diving in the census compared to the recent Sparks citizen survey, is how many people have no cars in their family? How many people have one car for a family of 4 or more? How many people have, et cetera? So it tees us up on some of the questions to be listening for when we go into different neighborhoods. That's a sensitivity in listening. It guides us to public transit, it guides us to walking ability to retail stores and groceries. So a lot of this is really having a fine ear for listening, and that's what I can suggest best is.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have an answer. I just think that the questions and the answers are depending on the audience, are going to be dramatically different.
They will be different, but interestingly enough, I was looking at a survey that was asking, especially in wards 1 and 2, 87% said that they wanted to be technologically connected, and I found that fascinating. That's different than what I might have expected, and that was a number 1 priority that was listed in some cases. So,
You're sensitive to it, but it's an issue that as you were giving your presentation, I was just trying to think about how you would, the kinds of questions you would ask and what the answers would really mean.
Well, we're drilling down from vision to themes to strengths and concerns, and then it comes. Once we gather the information, it's how we translate that information, and it's taken up by staff to create a plan with policies that drive that vision.
Yeah.
Does that help?
Go back to your first slide again, the second slide.
Yeah.
I would on how you're gaining things. There's a couple on the vision and especially the methods. Yeah, that one.
Okay, good.
I would like to see something on people that have moved here recently.
Good.
Why did they do it?
And
I think build on that. Yeah, perfect. This, I think I'd like to see something you can use, like a new movers campaign or something. You could find out that information from the county assessors, whoever, of a new home. Association of Realtors to figure out, hey, survey those people. Why did you move to our community?
Yes.
And second of all, I was just kind of wondering, in our area we have many jurisdictions that deal with a lot of things. For example, schools is not City Sparks, it's Washoe County. One of the things that we hear all the time, and commissioners can vouch for me, everybody typically on new development, they say, 1, our schools are overcrowded, which has no bearing really with, that's Washoe County school district. Our roads are overcrowded, and a lot of times that doesn't deal with the City of Sparks either, it's RTC. So how are you going to work with the different jurisdictions on when you get schools, water, roads are the big 3 that everybody's typically concerned about? Yeah, infrastructure, and the different jurisdictions, because
Living River, flood, we got all kinds of pieces to it.
If you have a new development that comes in and they say, typically the public comes in and says, our schools are in trailers.
Yeah.
Why are we going to allow another? Well, that's,
So I can give you again my best practices in communicating. I understand that these aren't things that you or the council here can govern, but it's also the impression of somebody who sees Sparks as not a series of different jurisdictions, but as a holistic place to live. So it's not that they don't care, they don't understand you're different. We need to take in the information so that we have it to talk to Washoe County School District or to talk to RTC about what our residents want to have. So as they're developing their plans, it's complementary to the vision of Sparks. Otherwise, they develop a plan that's independent of us. So we're very sensitive. Part of this is educating people, but also it's listening to them so that it can be conveyed. In the recent Sparks survey, people said that they understood that the schools weren't governed by the City of Sparks, but they still wanted to raise it as a big issue about how they feel about the City of Sparks. So intertwined, sensitivity, to listen to it, and then again working with planners about how to take it forward.
one thing I would like to see is, especially if I travel, and if you guys maybe say the same, when you travel, where do you say you're from? typically. Like if I'm in Chicago,
Yeah.
and somebody says, hey, where are you from? And if I say Sparks, they say, where's that?
Uh-huh.
Well, you say, well, it's next to Reno, so then they say, oh, yeah, I know where that's at. I would like to eventually that somebody say, I'm from Sparks, I know where that's at. Mainly for myself,
yeah.
my own self-indulgence, I guess. People say, so I always say, well, I'm from Sparks, well, where's that? And it'd be nice to see. And things that I always usually see at different meetings and things, Sparks strength is typically family-oriented items. People always say that's a big thing.
Bedroom community.
Bedroom, but I would like to see Sparks transition from a bedroom community.
I do too, and one thing to go ahead and hop on that is Ignite Sparks. I mean, that, to me, that sums up for that. I mean, you just think about it, Ignite Sparks. I mean,
Yeah.
sparks, ignite, fire, let's go forward.
Excellent comments. And what I saw recently, which blew my mind, all the Tesla jobs and Panasonic jobs are listing that they're in Sparks, Nevada. So think about everyone who's looking those up. This is the community they're looking in.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is home.
I just had a back kind of to where Doug was.
Yeah.
Your questionnaire, a lot's going to depend on these questionnaires, the validity, the sorting, the correlation, get the communication thing. But surveys are, live and die by the validity of the kinds of questions in the testing. So are these pre-tested kind of questions? Have you hammered them? Or is this going to be developed? Or are we going to be able to take those and, sort them, by census and by, in other words, how valid are those questions going to be from a test point, not from a good intentions point, but for the same things that Doug speaks to?
Yeah. So right now, we're working with staff in talking about moving through those two phases of questions. First, what we're saying is, are the higher levels sort of the 30,000 to identify the themes, and then review that at the end of December and go to the deep dive questions, which will move to some extent to who the audience is and what the gathering is, in terms of how, I guess what I'm saying is it's not the same generic questionnaire for every group that we're talking to.
So you'll ask seniors a different question and maybe a working class section is what I hear.
Yes, yeah.
Will you also be asking the different wards, what different questions? Okay.
Yeah, I think we'll work through staff with that. And it sounds like we'll be back to the Planning Commission regularly to have you interact and talk with us somewhat about what we're asking and where we're going. But we're still in the development phase with staff. And Armando, if you want to correct me or add anything if I'm presenting this.
Yeah, I mean, we have to be cognizant of utilizing the budget for the consultant in this case judiciously, and so you won't always get, we won't always have the consultant here to brief you, but you'll be getting briefings probably every Planning Commission meeting from either them and or staff.
So we can come in and question you on what the progress is, correct?
Certainly.
Well, some of the presentations we'll be doing to you are giving you what were our results
Yeah.
from each one of the.
Because I really like the way you planned out. You said like Ward 5 is a heavy traffic, the outreach. I mean, it is Ward 5. That's, Sparks Boulevard and Pyramid Way and Vista and all that. And you got Ward 4, the quality of life, which it is out there. I mean, I like the way you broke that down. And that,
Okay, good.
I can really tell you're on the right path, and I like that.
Good. You asked about how much data. We want data so that we can measure and we can come back and see that this is valid and look at it 3 years from now or 10 years from now and learn something from it. But we also don't want to go so heavy on the data that we forgot to listen carefully to what people are saying. And it's the comments outside of the voting, so to speak, that are every bit as meaningful. And it's our job to be good listeners and to capture it well so that our planners can create the policy that reflects that. So that's,
course,
It
decide
will be
that,
both.
and not be, as if your responses are so global, they're going to be hard to quantify, and so you got to get into the middle somewhere.
And also, we don't want to be namby-pamby, because everybody would say quality of life, and that means 100 things to different people, 1,000 things. So how do we give enough information to the planners to be able to prioritize where that lands?
Okay. Any more questions?
Thank you.
Mitch, yes.
Yes.
I just want to let you guys know that I think this is a very fresh and innovative approach, something that most of us old guys couldn't really fathom, but I'm really excited to see how it comes out.
Thank you. Thank you.
It was an overview, Doug.
He was kicking me directly at you.
It's going to make Sparks feel very cool. I think it will feel very cool when we do this.
All right, well, thank you, guys. Got a big job ahead of you, and
Thank you.
move forward. And George has all kinds of good ideas, so you can. All right, now I'll move to the public comment. Is there anybody from the public that would like to speak? Okay, seeing none, I'll close the public comment. Any more comments for commissioners?
I just have one comment. I am going to be out of town in the November meeting, so Marilee, when you start counting next, I'll be on missing head.
Okay. All right, well, if no more comments for commissioners, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
No, we'll adjourn.